Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am so glad you're joining me today because we are digging into a truly wild and honestly pretty dark case straight from the files of the Rachakanda Police Commissionerate over in Hyderabad. What we've got here is just a textbook example of how a meticulously planned cover-up can completely unravel when it goes up against modern investigative techniques. We're going to break down a tragic incident that was initially called in as just a routine, sudden medical emergency. But as you'll see, investigators systematically peeled back the layers to reveal a carefully orchestrated murder plot. All right, let's dive right in and see exactly how this whole web of lies was dismantled piece by piece.
First up, Section 1. The cover story. A sudden death in Hyderabad.
So, to set the scene for you, the victim at the center of this case was a 45-year-old guy who worked as a logistics manager at a private university. On December 11th, a very specific narrative was established when his 36-year-old wife marched into the Boduppal police station to file a formal complaint. On the surface, it just looked like a sudden, terrible tragedy striking an everyday household in the Boduppal area. Her story was that her husband was simply found unconscious in the washroom of their house. She had also been telling all their relatives that he'd suffered a massive, sudden heart attack. According to her, he was rushed to the government hospital in Malkadidiri, where he was officially declared dead. You know, it was a clean, simple story designed to get sympathy. A tragic heart attack in the washroom. Case closed, right? Well, actually, not exactly.
Which brings us to Section 2. Suspicious clues emerge when the physical evidence contradicts the claim. Okay, so this is exactly where her perfect little cover-up hits a massive roadblock. As the Boduppal police register the case and start what they assume is going to be a totally routine death investigation, they start looking a bit closer at the victim. Because, well, people can lie all they want, but physical evidence, it rarely does. On one hand, you have the wife's carefully constructed lie, a natural death, he collapsed in the washroom. But then you have the brutal physical reality that the investigators actually found. During their exam, police spotted some highly suspicious injuries on the victim's body. Very specifically, distinct injuries on the man's cheek and his neck. Now, as literally any investigator will tell you, a heart attack does not leave blunt force trauma on your cheek, nor does it leave marks on your neck. The physical reality was just completely contradicting the reported cause of death.
Moving on to Section 3, Unraveling the Plot. Let's look at how technology actually broke the case. With those suspicious injuries waving huge red flags, the whole narrative just pivots entirely. The Rachakanda Police Commissionerate immediately shifts gears. We are no longer looking at a medical inquiry. We are in a full-blown, active murder investigation. The physical clues gave them the what. Okay, this is a homicide. But to find the how and the who, they had to follow a very precise methodology. Step 1 was obviously recognizing those physical injuries on the neck and cheek. Step 2, widening the net. Detectives started pulling and analyzing neighborhood CCTV footage to see exactly who was coming and going from that Boduppal residence right around the time of this supposed heart attack. Step 3 involved gathering technical evidence, digital footprints, phone records, that sort of thing. And finally, Step 4, putting all those puzzle pieces together to not only prove the wife was involved, but to realize she didn't act alone. They actually identified 2 other accomplices who were conveniently missing from her original police report.
But, why did this even happen? Every crime like this has a catalyst, and the police uncovered an incredibly clear motive here. As it turns out, the 36-year-old wife had started up an illicit relationship with a much younger guy, a 22-year-old construction worker. Eventually, the 45-year-old logistics manager started getting suspicious. He started questioning his wife about it, and according to the police report, was harassing her over the situation. So with this tension rising and the threat of her secret being totally exposed, that's what pushed the wife and her 22-year-old paramour over the edge. They decided the only way out of this mess was to just permanently eliminate the husband.
All right, Section 4, The Chilling Truth, the actual events of December 11th.
That story they fed to the hospital, the relatives, the cops, it was 100% fabricated to mask a highly coordinated, brutal attack. The police ended up arresting 3 individuals in total for this. The 36-year-old wife is the prime accused here. And during the attack, she didn't just stand back and watch. Her specific role was to physically hold her husband's legs down so he couldn't fight back. The 22-year-old construction worker, her paramour, was the one who actually committed the final act. He strangled the logistics manager using chunis, which are traditional scarves. And then there was a third accused person who actually assisted in the initial ambush and physical assault. Literally every single person had a highly specific role in this lethal conspiracy.
To really grasp just how cold this crime was, let's trace the actual sequence of events that night. It's the evening of December 11th. The victim comes home from his job at the university, completely unaware he's walking into a trap. Moments later, the three accused ambush him. The physical assault happens. That's where those blunt force injuries to the cheek came from. Shortly after that, the victim is subdued, the wife pins his legs, and the paramour strangles him. But here's the most calculating move of all. They didn't just call the police right away in a panic. To really sell that heart attack in the washroom lie, they actually went as far as changing the dead victim's clothes to hide any signs of a struggle. They systematically got rid of the incriminating stuff, like the chunies they used, destroying the evidence before they ever set foot in the Boduppal police station.
And that brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. The wife here really thought she had thought of everything. She changed his clothes, hid the weapon, crafted this totally believable story, and even got her relatives to buy it. But as we've seen in this explainer today, a lie can only stretch so far. How quickly does a perfect cover-up really fall apart when it meets the cold, hard lens of physical forensics, CCTV, and tech data? Well, in this case in Hyderabad, the answer is almost immediately. It is a stark reminder that the truth absolutely always leaves a footprint, no matter how hard someone tries to wipe it away. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the breakdown of this investigation. Until next time, keep questioning what's on the surface.